DGCA as a regulator or anything, things doesn't move. We can talk about sky, we can talk about anything, but ultimately DGCA is the ultimate authority which gives all the permissions, make all policies, give all important amendments that we see, and also the bill that is in process right now, and that is going to be a landmark thing in times to come. So very crisp session, sir, and we know, sir, you have the expertise in terms of making us understand the nuances that how policies and what are the futuristic steps DGCA is taking in terms of making a very, very enabling ecosystem for drone, not only the manufacturers, but service providers, for skill developers, for academia, and also the R&D institutions. As we know, sir, now I start from you, Manish sir. In fact, as we know that India has scaled from somewhere close to 70 to 160 airports right now. In fact, on 1st of August, your new airport at Vizag is going to be inaugurated. And also there is also rapidly growing, the aviation industry as such. And as we know that drones and manned aviation are increasingly, they compete for same low altitude airspace. So what institutional or policy mechanism is DGCA building to integrate the UAS traffic management, that is the UTM, with the conventional air traffic control, so that the growth in one segment doesn't create the bottlenecks for the growth in other sectors? Sir.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure being here and talking about a few other steps which DGCA is taking for and the Ministry of Aviation is taking for promotion of drone. And yes, I would say that UTM is very essential in enabling the services. Because right now our services to begin with were limited to localized area surveys to agriculture application, but that's a starting point. And what we are now looking at is drones, heavy category drones, medium category drones. They are involved in logistic applications, transporting commercial loads from one place to another, because the kind of advantage they provide. So that would happen only if we have a process of monitoring, guiding, the navigation process in place. So for that we have already, using the new process, we have developed airworthiness specifications and the operation specifications for BV loss operations that would enable a long range drone operation, maybe up to 10 kilometers, 25 kilometers. And yes, there are certain operational issues. There needs to be coordinations happening with the air traffic services, because when you go beyond 400 feet, that's where then you interfere with the normal traffic. So those are the few of the issues cutting edge which need to be resolved. But that's what we are working upon. That and with regard to UTM, another sector which is developing is the advanced air mobility, where the larger, more than 500 kg vehicle up to 5,700 kg, they'll transport people, they'll transport cargo. So we are looking at a number of bifurcations in the low altitude airspace, wherein we have a corridor for the drones to do their work, and then another in between a corridor which is being shared for the helicopter operation to some extent, and the eVTOL. So those are the few things which are working upon, and we have a group, dedicated group who works upon this. And in fact, few of the organization US has also shown their interest in working with us to work in this area. Thank you very much.
Now, sir, question to you. And in fact, if we read some of the documents, DGCA documents, it highlights that the India brought this pilot licensing fully under DGCA to reduce dependence on foreign institutes. In fact, in the morning also, the Chief of Air Staff, he mentioned about the skill development and the capacity building of the next generation technologies. And as we talk about drone-specific certifications like remote pilot certificates, even type certificates for manufacturers, scale up in parallel with conventional pilot licensing. So do we feel that the DGCA's current manpower and digital infrastructure like the digital sky is adequately resourced to handle both without creating any approval backlogs for either of these sectors?
Thank you, sir. Regarding the bandwidth in DGCA, that's right. We have not much officers in DGCA. That's the reason why we have authorized the remote pilot training organization in the first place to issue the remote pilot certification. They do the testings of the train the remote pilots, and they will test them and then issue the remote pilot certification. So there is no backlog from their end, and they have to do it within 7 days. This is by rule. It is there in the drone rules. And we do authorization of remote pilot training organization. In India currently 270 plus remote pilot training organizations are there, training even the farmers and the remote drone BD schemes. They are doing the certification of the women remote pilots in the country. So and for the one more thing regarding the digital sky platform, we have recently shifted from remote pilot digital sky platform to the DGCA platform last year for providing the regulatory services, and it was smooth and it's functioning very well for now. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, Minister, in some of the reports I was reading that you have spoken about DGCA, it's coming up with a proactive regulation in order to, draw more Indian and global investment into aerospace design and manufacturing. And specifically for the drone sector, there's also a PLI outlay which stands at close to 2,000 crore right now from like 2025 to 2028. So what regulatory certainty or is there any fast track mechanism DGCA is preparing to offer manufacturers to compete with global drone hubs, especially given that civil drone bill is still under the draft?
Yeah. So one of the things which because we have a lot of experience now with regard to type certification of drones, so we are doing a little shift here. We are looking at an AI introduction for the review of type certification documents, so that we are putting our energies more on the heavy category, medium category drones. So our teams work on that. So that is one way that it will be very faster process, reduction in the time limits are prescribed. And with regard to our right now, in the previous panel, I also there were discussions about indigenization. So the best way to promote indigenization is to develop standards. So that's what we have taken that route, and we have already put for public comments our standards for the electrical motor brushless motors or the power units, and with these being in place, we will have our own technical standards, and that would encourage our entrepreneurs to design and manufacture those units as per the Indian type certification standards, and that would also apply to those items which are imported from other area. So at present, there's issue of scale, because people do compare with other countries which are at a larger scale because they started much ahead of us. But nonetheless, there is no restriction as such for the import as the movement for the manufacture. But what is more important is they should be truthful in declaring what is indigenous and what is imported component. And yes, getting material is a problem, but once we have the scale, obviously the people would immerse themselves in creating or tying up with the other manufacturers abroad for those kind of technologies. I see that some of the mature countries which are quite advanced, they haven't done on their own. They have captured market in Europe, they have bought the organizations in Europe, and today they are customizing and miniaturizing those technologies. So India is not far away from that, but what is required is push, and I see a lot of enthusiasm among our young entrepreneurs who are willing to immerse themselves, and we are coming with those standards for them to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for clearing this. So over to you, as we know that if you see the drone policy ecosystem as such, there are multiple ministries who are playing a very important role. It's not only the Ministry of Civil Aviation, we have the Ministry of Agriculture, Namo Drone Didi project, we have the defense, we have the METI on the tech side. So from the vantage point of DGCA, is there any single biggest some interministerial coordination or many challenge standing between where India's drone ecosystem is right now as we talking about Viksit Bharat by 2047? So what is the strategic step our entrepreneurs, the founders, co-founders of different drone startup companies should take into consideration so that we talk of ease of doing business. So within this interministerial coordination, is there any way out in terms of making systems more easy in terms of ease of doing business for our new age entrepreneurs who are in this drone manufacturing or service industry?
Sir, what we feel is for the interministerial coordination, things are much faster these days. So we do communications online. If something we want, we just ring up and we do VCs, more VCs within interministerial consultations that are happening very faster. Right? So by that, we are in a faster pace. Regarding innovation and for the ease of doing business, in the drone rules, Rule 42 enables the unmanned aircraft system manufacturers, startups to innovate themselves without any hindrance from the government. Provided only it has to be in a green zone, they have to do the testing within their sites and they can do. There is no component certification work as of now, like Sarah has already said. We are working on giving the component standards and how to enable those component standards and how to authorize them. But still there is a freedom for them to innovate for now, and we have given the responsibility to the drone manufacturers. So it is up to them to give the standards what they want and build those standards for the components, and then they can get the drones type certified at the aircraft level. So there is enough room for us to innovate. Only thing is that we need entrepreneurs. We have very good entrepreneurs here to have the will to innovate. Not just import and get it assembled and certified.
Sir, you want to build over it because it's very important, and there are many eager minds in this auditorium also who are very willing to understand the thought process of ease of doing business, particularly so that their R&D, their innovation, the technologies they are working upon or piloting upon, it becomes, it actually, gets easy regulatory pathway with little or very less bottlenecks. If you can build over that.
Yes, so along with the stakeholders, because you see the problem is in an existing drone you have to change the components because the supplier changes, the availability is an issue. So that's where we worked upon and prescribed what could mean looking at ATA again, what could mean looking at the DGCA again, what could mean doing yourself the changes and informing. So that kind of aircraft level design standards we are bringing in the system so that it becomes easier for the people to work upon. And innovation, obviously I've seen that many of the people drawing upon, learning from others, they have worked upon and developed the technologies and all our like standards or the ITCs which we have developed, which are we going to develop, they are with the cooperative participations from our industry. Expert bodies, we have technical committee and then the steering committee who look at them. For example, now one of the manufacturers wanted to use a very large size battery for which we don't have any standards at the moment. And permitting such a battery has its own downside also. So safety concerns. So we immediately recognizing that rather than saying that you please go ahead and we're working on a standards, working upon so that we facilitate such kind of thoughts and that is where we as a regulator are helping and immersing ourselves for facilitating innovation.
The house is open for any question. We have the subject matter experts who are here. Yes, sir. Please give him mic. And I know, sir, you ask very difficult questions.
When do we see our beyond visual line of sight being operationalized and real-time tracking? Our future depends on these. Second part is, issue about digital sky. Digital sky, I remember talking for a decade. It came out as a single window for everything drone in civil segment. Now we see we moving into DGCA. How do we bring it back as a single window system to meet aspirations of Indian civil drone industry, and then integrate with the defense the way we have seen in Iran war, how civil targets have been targeted. We need to have integration of our digital sky with the military C2 system. Thank you.
Well, Digital Sky was initially built with a lot of thoughts on a very composite and platform which enabled everything. But there are technical hitches here. Putting small pack, everything in a small pack has its own technical disadvantages. That's what we ran into. And right now we are looking at a process wherein we have more independence, more connected, and at the same time meeting all those goals. So DGCA, obviously, because of the upgradation and other stuff which those challenges which we were facing there, for that we integrated the entire process, a much better process when it comes to EGCA. So Digital Sky platform, the other portion of the operational part, that portion is still being maintained by the airport authority, but then it's going to be developed and there will be conjunction between the two. We will be sharing the API so that it becomes seamless. So with regard to cooperation in defense, we already have our working groups wherein we are working upon these issues, mainly led by the thoughts from the defense forces. How do we integrate, what should be the entire mechanism, how the platform should link. So all those things are being discussed there, which I don't feel I can be right. So maybe you can look at your other question, because you had two parts of the question. BB loss. So, like I have sitting next to me is a person who is part of the technical committee. They did the entire state work. So today we have technical specifications, we have the airworthiness specification. So as a steering committee, I being member of the steering committee, we have encouraged it, because at the moment there are certain risks, but we are willing to take those risks, permit that kind of operation to happen in sparsely populated area where the risk which we can absorb. So it's very soon we're going to see that to come through. First we're limiting to 10 to 15 kilometers, and maybe after we are technologically more input there, and people are willing to put more money and technology there, so we will have much more diverse kind of operations, which you said, the Amazon coming and delivering. So that requires a lot of agility, a lot of technology going into it, because it shouldn't become a safety hazard, a public hazard. So that's our main concern while permitting and innovating to have. So maybe Tucci would like to add more to this.
So nothing more to add. BVLOS is passed and it's in the process of visuals. So real-time tracking requirements we have put in very large scale information sharing cases, not technically. This has to be like this only, but you have to say where the drone is flying.
Jai Hind, I'm Wing Commander Kushwaha. So my question is on the unarmed, the counter unmanned systems. Now, with more and more miniaturization happening, and I would say the spread of drones happening in various universities and colleges, it's something which has become a toy and everybody can tomorrow make it. Over a period of time, we would see, components being available where people can assemble and start doing something. Now with that kind of stuff happening, there are two fears that I have in my mind. Is that how will we create a non-state actor to get hold of the items, create something and use it in a disruptive manner. Examples and templates of which we have seen in Ukraine, point number one. So how are we going to ensure that the supply chain of the components also is treated like a control item and not just available outside? That is point number one. Second aspect is that we have the drone rules which cover the flyer side, but not on the defender side, the counter, because when you are using counter drone systems in civilian domain, a lot of things come, tomorrow, God forbid, somebody use it against the politicians, so politicians will start demanding it. Then you have various private agencies who have high value industry. Moment this thing starts becoming normal, somebody may use some explosive which is locally assembled, he has an enmity, he'll go and hit his plant. So disruptive nature that we have seen, I don't want to take examples of the recent protests, but things can really go astray should somebody come with a disruptive mind. So while progress in technology is important, we are looking at the positive side of things. We also need to look at the other dimension, because should one or two incidents happen, then it will become very challenging for the industry to grow, because the system will clamp down. So we need to think about it beforehand.
Thank you very much. And what you say, the threats are quite real, they are not imaginary. And that's what, considering that, we have a specialized wing, BCAS, which is actually coordinating those efforts of identifying and using all the means to neutralize such kind of drone. And that is, at the same time, the present policy which limits drone to a specific operation area, red zone, green zone, yellow zone. So these are the another safety factor which is built in. But I agree with you, because while we have done that, we don't have the ability to track them. We don't have the ability to track when the violation occurs, because everything is linked to when we come to the digital sky. It is linked to the flight plan. If I find flight plan, then I'm tracked. Otherwise, I am not tracked. So here we have looked at. I speak to my colleague in Air Force who are also working on a process wherein they are first for protection of the strategic locations, airports, other strategic installations. They are working on the software-based system. And we are exploring and testing that, if that helps us going forward till we have our digital rules-based sky control available, or the digital flight rules available. So that is, and we'll see how that entire thing merges. So that's the plan, because right now, as you say, we are not totally on this. Yes, please. So.
DGCA is civil aviation safety regulator, so whatever we are going to do is for safety, for civil aviation, that's it. And like Sarah said, BCAS is working on it, and it's for protecting the airport environment. For other things, there is MHA that is taking care of it. And as a proactive measures, DGCA has reached out to all states and union territories. And we have had a VC also to them to sensitize what kind of drones can be used, what drones cannot be used, what are their powers are. So there is action going on. Thank you.
Can we have a big round of applause for Minister and Sir? Thank you so much for taking our time and being.